We can only define God or even think about God in relation to us and the relationship with us. So it's important to know, who are we? Today, we talk about the church's teaching of contempt for you, how the church actually teaches us to hate ourselves. We talk about who we are and how God, the universe, spirit, really truly feel about us. In the midst of all the hate and attack out there, wow, we really need this. We need to find that peace. The kingdom of heaven, Jesus said, is right now, that childlike wonder and joy. Let's find it, reclaim it, and enjoy it.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
Well, hello and welcome to the FreedHearts podcast. My name is Robert Cottrell. I'm here as always with
Susan Cottrell.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, beloved, we are a listener-supported podcast. That means we don't have ads. You don't hear any ads on this podcast, and that's only possible because we're supported through people like you, listeners who love the podcast, who listen. You can help make all of that possible, help keep us going, keep us strong here by donating. And I think on the platforms that you listen to, there's a support this podcast button, or you can just go to freedhearts.org and click on donate, and we would be very grateful. Thank you very, very much. So after all this deconstructing that God is not about your sins or keeping you in shape or what religious leaders want to tell you it's about, then what is God all about? I mean, that's a great and really freeing question. But we can really only define God. I mean, the truth is we can only define God or even think about God in relation to us and the relationship with us. I mean, that's the connecting point. So we want to start with, who are you? Who are we? And today we're going to talk about the church's teaching of contempt for you. Who are we? And how does God, the universe, spirit, really, truly feel about us? For that, we have a little story.
We've got this grandbaby we watch on the regular. And I'm telling you, that kid is so needy. They can't do anything. They arrived in our home a year and a half ago, the home we share with their parents, and they were so unprepared. They couldn't roll over. They couldn't even lift their head. Any movements they made were just random. How could you relate to someone like this? They don't understand what's going on and they can't talk. What do they even bring to the relationship? They poop and pee right in their pants. Who do you think cleans it up? We do. Me, Rob, or the baby's parents. We do all the heavy lifting while the baby does no lifting at all, unless a random movement happens to pick up a pacifier. Well, now they're a year and a half, so they've grown a little. They've learned to crawl and walk, but they're still completely dependent. Sure, they understand a lot more language now, but they don't talk. They say, blah, 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 blah. Can't understand that. And when they eat, they make a huge mess. In the morning, they can't get out of their crib. One of us has to go get them. And when they wake in the night, they just cry out. And someone, whoever's on duty, LOL, goes to take care of them. It doesn't matter if we haven't slept or are exhausted or have a hangover or whatever. That baby keeps crying until someone takes care of them. We literally anticipate their needs and do everything for them. And they never feel bad about putting us out. They never say, I'm sorry I have all these needs that you have to take care of. I wish I could do something to make it up for you. Nope, not once. They just want what they want. And they don't pay for anything. They don't even offer.
Well, they are just a year and a half old.
Right. And they don't work. They just expect someone will be there, will provide the food, clothes, toys. Someone will feed them and meet their every need. And they're not wrong.
You sounded so angry there. Do you think we resent that? No, we don't resent that.
We don't resent it.
No. Do you think we wish they'd grow up already and get out of our hair? Oh, are you kidding me?
No way.
That utter dependence is tender and sweet, and their complete trust in us melts our hearts. It makes us want to protect them with our life.
Yes, exactly. Do you think, is it possible that you are meant to live this way with God, to live this way in spirit, It is. You and I are meant to live in a complete symbiotic relationship with Spirit. But the message that we've received that the conservative church teaches is that you do not deserve to live this way, that you need to buck up and do your part and make your changes and carry the burden of the relationship with God. Come on, at least go halvesies. No, I hope you see from what we just did that that is ridiculous for religious people to tell you that you need to do something, that to be something you're not, to do something you can't, to change something it won't change, to make God happy. That is ridiculous and disgusting. Do you see that? That God is tired of carrying your ass and wishes you would just straighten up already? That's crazy talk. And I hope you see that that is not only ridiculous, but blasphemous.
So think about a baby that you know and love, or a child, or even a pet.
Yeah.
Someone who's pretty dependent, not an adult who's codependent, but someone who really has not much to offer except absolute cuteness.
Yeah.
But don't you just adore them because they are? Of course you do. And that grandbaby of ours, we would not love a smidge more if they were independent and if they didn't need us.
Yeah.
We love them because they are.
And common knowledge would say that maybe it would be a relief if they could just leave us alone for a blessed minute. And humanly speaking, we have those moments. But supernaturally speaking, God does not have those moments of resentment and being up to here with taking care of you. God in no way resents you, your neediness, your questions, your fears, your tears, your need to be affirmed, your need to know that God loves you completely as you are. And God does love you completely as you are. God is delighted to carry you, to carry your weight and your burdens, all that you have, even as they shift and change as you develop and grow into the person you came here to be, to accomplish the purpose you intended to accomplish, not God's purpose for you. You had a purpose when you came here in consultation with God about what your soul needed and wanted and what you could bring to contribute to this planet that needs you and to contribute to your own soul's growth. I'm not talking about some grand purpose to cure cancer or whatever. Maybe it was just to learn to live more fearlessly, not just, but maybe it was to learn to live more fearlessly, to live more authentically, to live more fully. I believe that's all of our purpose. Each human iteration on earth, to love, to learn to love, and to be loved more fully, which raises the vibration of all of humanity. There, I said it. You are a human iteration of God, a God hologram, a microcosm of all that is. That's what it means to be created in God's image. And this is not just me. Science actually tells us this. With quantum fields and creative energy, literally the energy that creates the universe and keeps creating it, that's what we emerge from as a human microcosm of all of it. All that ever was exists within us. And to come to this earth as a human, knowing all the things you'd face, knowing you'd have hurdles and challenges and difficulties, that takes a lot of courage. It's probably the bravest thing a soul can do. Yeah.
Yeah, and you and I were meant to live the way our grandbaby lives, in complete dependence and trust.
Yes.
And with assurance that nothing you do is wrong. Nothing you do is outside of God's blanket of love and acceptance that wraps you up. And you may say, well, eventually you grow up and learn boundaries. Well, yes, of course we grow and learn, and our baby will learn not to yank things off the table, not to mess with the computer cords. We all grow and learn.
Yeah.
And that baby will eventually be completely independent of us, their parents and grandparents.
Yes.
They'll probably someday become the caregiver as their parents eventually age.
Yes. But with spirit, we remain deeply intertwined, symbiotic until we transition, because God, the universe, always has the greater view. than we do on earth. Our 360 guides, I call them, God, guides, angels, ancestors, our higher selves, always have the larger vision, the pulled back vantage point. And so we remain in constant contact as we bat around this crazy world like a pinball. That communication with guides who can see the whole game, that's our safety. That's the phone in our pocket, an all-knowing GPS, our access info that we wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah, and we can only do that when we trust Spirit, when we know we're safe. If you can't do that with some psychopath God who might throw you into hell,
Yeah. And that baby of ours, they don't know what's coming. Every day is an unknown. When someone gets them out of the crib in the morning, they don't know what the day holds. Who knows? And it may be a day with mommy or mama or both. It may be a day with Rob or me or both, depending on our schedules and travel and just plain tag teaming. It may be a day at the daycare, or it may be a day at the zoo, or they may be going to get shots. They just don't know. And we pop them in the car. They don't know if they're going to go drive 10 minutes to the store or hours for a road trip. We also don't know if we'll get that job or a better place to live or if tragedy awaits. We just don't know. Will we ever meet the love of our lives? Who knows? We have no idea right up until the moment we meet them.
But you know what? This much I know. Life is for us.
Yes.
Every bit as much as we are for that baby.
Yes. But here's the whole thing. This whole setup sets up. When we're taught contempt for ourselves, that we don't quite measure up to God unless we do our part to turn ourselves inside out, to be something we're not, to gain God's approval and provision, it sets us up for our system of capitalism run amok that doesn't take care of us either. Meaning, if we can't seem to work to get a decent living, much less meaningful work that satisfies our soul, then we need some side hustles, all those things we've talked about with the system of mammon, a system of extraction, to extract all it's possible to extract from the people who do the work and from the earth, to create billions more for billionaires. And we can't serve God and mammon because they're fundamentally at odds. And it's a great way for you to have contempt for yourself for not pulling your bootstraps hard enough in a rigged system, because you can't pull your bootstraps hard enough with God either. God seems to be operating in the same system. That's what we've learned in church. And we can't have open contempt for God, so we have open contempt for ourselves. Man, there's no wonder that we often feel devastated.
Yeah, what you just said is amazing, that we've been taught that God operates in the system that we operate in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The same
Yes.
acceptance, the same rule. And it's just, oh my gosh, that's
Yes.
stunning. But God is not mammon.
Yeah.
God has no requirements for entry because you're already in.
Yes.
You're already inside God's very being. You're
Every one of us.
Yep. You are a hologram of the universe already.
Yes.
And we want to trust that all-encompassing spirit that we are just as fully as our baby trusts us.
Yes.
We want to trust that all will be well. And just as our baby sometimes cries or screams because we put them in the car seat, or we ran out of our bananas, or we may need to cry sometimes or scream at what we're going through,
Yes.
That's just the truth.
Yes.
And you and I were away, Susan, for a few days, and the baby this baby kept going to the top of the stairs that leads to our part of the house and calling out, and they brought their little stuffed dog with them, and they called out for us. They didn't know if we'd show up in a minute, an hour, a week, and we had no way to tell them. But among the four of us, we care for that child, and they trust us to do it. They never think not to. We're careful to maintain that trust because we want to remain trustworthy.
Yes, and our guides, God, Spirit, are trustworthy. Our biggest problem is getting the lies out of our head that we've been told about God, who's kind of unpredictable and hard to please and may have a hot place for you in the end. Good heavens. That's the teaching of contempt against you, by teaching you about a fair weather God, a conditional God that shows up sometimes, not when you really need it, and only if you clean up your crap first. But what kind of relationship is that? If we can't trust spirit, we won't relate to spirit. If we're afraid of them, there's no basis for a relationship. And you want that relationship, whatever it looks like for you, because that's our lifeblood. Spirit is us. And we've got to stay connected to the bigger universe that's bigger than us and outside of us. If you feel that God has broken trust, if you felt afraid or let down or judged, it's not God who did that. It's people. Forget those people. Find your healing beyond those people. Or maybe it's the false teaching about a false God. Allow yourself to nurture your parched spirit by connecting spirit to spirit. Your spirit is a microcosm of larger spirit, a spirit hologram in your human iteration.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to live in a peaceful, loving, harmonious world, you need to trust the peace within you and allow it to blossom first within you.
Yes.
You want to set your spirit free first within you. Then you'll see this magic of your goodness hologram blossom out into the world around you.
Yes, yes. We think that our job as parents is to teach our children everything, teach them everything we know, but that's not it. It's to open the way for them to discover the world they live in. Of course, we teach them things, yes, but way less than we think we need to. One of my heroes, Neil deGrasse Tyson, tells parents to let kids explore, let them make a mess. So what? When they pull things out of the cabinets and throw things around together, they're finding out how things work. They're experimenting, within reason. Our baby pulled out every tissue one by one from the box until I saw them and stopped them. Yeah. And I sighed. Yes, I did. But they weren't doing it to be a pain in my ass. They did it because it was fun and unexpected and shows them more about how the world works.
Yeah. Now they can't destroy everything in your home in the name of science or in the name of exploration or freedom. I mean, you have to be able to live there too and not be at your wit's end. But spirit doesn't have those limitations.
Yeah.
Spirit is not put out by you trying every door to see what's on the other side.
Man, that's great.
I mean, that's what the whole story of the prodigal is about. That younger brother did just that. Went way outside the bounds of society and religion and God. And God, in the shape of the Father, was overjoyed with him. Was just happy to resume the relationship.
Yeah.
The son did not repent. And if you think he did, listen to that recent podcast we did about it. It'll change how you view that story forever.
Yeah, we that should be the takeaway of that story is who God is to us. How unperturbable God is. How unruffleable. God doesn't care about mess ups. That's just not God. And our job as parents is really to provide a safe space full of love and encouragement and get the hell out of the way. We didn't teach that baby how to move their body, to turn over, to crawl. We didn't teach them to walk or talk. We just did it ourselves, and they picked it up. They imitated us. I was vacuuming while the baby was walking around, and they were so unafraid of that vacuum. I can go right close to them with it, and they'll just watch me and walk around to see it and try to figure out how to turn it on themselves. Now, Hannah, our youngest Saint Sinner, is really not crazy about vacuums. Do you know why? Because a friend of mine, when we were visiting her house, our kids could play together, our friend vacuumed, and she told Hannah, watch out, it'll get your toes. Now, why would you put that in someone's head? And she knows now that a vacuum won't eat her toes, but she doesn't love vacuums. But even though she knows that message itself is not true, the feeling attached to it lingers. No. And there are many things you were told about God that are not true, and you know it, but the bad feeling can linger.
Yeah. No, I've said silly things like that too. I mean, we do this to our children all the time. It's just the fabric of our culture to kids. One girl thought she only had so many kisses because her uncle said, don't run out of kisses. Well, she figured it out, but why do we think it's okay to just freely open the door of our children's sacred interior and throw crap in there? Why do we collectively think it's okay to create a mess in someone that then they have to clean out?
Yeah. And far worse is mud thrown about you and God. Things like who you are is God's gift to you. Who you become is your gift to God. Oh, okay. So now I'm now as God made me, but that's not a gift enough. I have to change me to be a gift. Okay, I hear you. Or be perfect as God is in heaven is perfect. Oh, just that? Okay. They don't tell you because they just read the word on the page. It's been interpreted that perfect means whole and complete.
As you already are.
Yeah. Think of a luscious peach, beautifully ripe. That's how you are. And just like a peach, you don't have to strive and struggle to mature. You just naturally mature when you're paying attention, like our baby walking and talking. You don't have to become something you're not. Thank God.
Yeah. Or, when I think it's Romans 7 when Paul says, I know that nothing good lives in me, that is in my sinful nature. I want to do what is right, but I can't. And he goes on. All right, well, there's a lot of theology to hang on one verse there.
Yeah, a lot has been hung on that verse.
And we can talk about Paul and probably will in the future because that's really a teaching of contempt for Jesus, that we've built our theology on Paul's words instead of Jesus.
Yeah.
But bear in mind, Paul was wrong on more than one occasion. He thought Jesus was coming any minute. In fact, his followers in Corinth sold all their possessions and gave all their money to the poor because they didn't think they'd need it because Jesus was coming any second.
And then he didn't.
Yeah, and then he didn't. And Paul had to ask other churches for support for these people who had sold their businesses so they had nothing. And he was wrong. And Paul was wrong in other ways, too.
He encouraged them to do that.
Yeah. Yes. And this is provably false. We talked about this in one episode about how humanity's fallen and it can't get up. Not.
I love that title.
So let's take off this whole theology that's been built around Paul's words, not Jesus.
Yeah. And any mud that's been thrown into your sacred bungalow about who you are or about what God thinks about you, that was all someone else or some tradition of men, as Jesus called it, lobbing their own belief or joke or whatever they were taught into your sacred space. It had nothing to do with you and nothing to do with God. It was all in the projector already, and it spewed into your walls that belong to you. And if pieces bang around in there, if you've got mud you can't get rid of, there's a remedy for that. If you remember something that happened, or you just feel kind of weird about some certain understanding that you have, whether it's feeling weird about the vacuum or feeling like you're broken, there's probably an incident attached to it. Just go to your quiet place. Let yourself feel that feeling as you breathe in and out, and let the scene come to you, and then create a different outcome. Maybe you want to tell that person that what they're saying is not true, or picture God sitting there and God telling them, or ask God and wait for an answer and believe it. If it's positive, if it scares you or shames you, then it's not from God, because God doesn't do that to us, God's children, any more than we would do that to our grandbaby.
And that's actually, you do some, just a little aside here, you do coaching for people, some life coaching. On a very limited basis. And that's kind of what you do in that.
Yes.
That's exactly what you do in that in certain situations.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in that kind of thing, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org, where you can connect through the website. So
So, but also, try it. I do. And also try it on your own. See if that works first. But it's just really, you deserve to be free. You deserve to be free. And find that child in you who's full of joy and wonder and curiosity. That's how you access that piece of the kingdom of heaven that Jesus talked about. That means right here, right now, not when you die. Jesus was not talking about eternity like after you die when he talked about heaven. He meant the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven is right here, right now. And it's that childlike wonder and joy that opens the door to Narnia. It's your birthright, and it's what you're made of. Grab it. Grab your God image and enjoy the hell out of it.
Yes, well said. Well, we love you. Next week, we are going to kind of flip the other side of this and talk about how the church teaches us to have contempt for God of all things. So
Dun, dun, dun.
this will be fun, we promise.
Something what?
This will be fun, we promise. We love you.
Absolutely.
We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Would it be okay if I were to tell you that I am afraid someday? So I call you up and you call me down. Would it be okay?
You've been listening to the FreedHearts podcast. We have extensive resources and vibrant, inclusive community for you at freedhearts.org. Please just come say hello. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions for the podcast, just email us at podcast@freedhearts.org. Audio engineering is provided by Luke Johnson. The music is provided by Hannah Cottrell, our daughter, the Grammy-nominated Saint Sinner. You can find out more about her and her music at heysaintsinner.com. Please share, subscribe and follow on your favorite platform, and support us if you can. Thanks for listening.